Yo guys, we are live. This is the KNQ channel. Apologies for not going live recently. Just been busy doing life, but listen, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. We've got two videos that we're going to be looking at today, right? And you've seen the title of the thumbnail. Why are black men moving to Kenya? But really, the title of the video should really be, why are so many black men moving to Africa? That is what the title of the video really should be. So subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. We're going to be looking at two videos. One is by a really interesting YouTuber called Skylar. And I was going to do them as two separate videos, but I thought, you know what, let's do them as let's do a 2-for-1, and then I'll chop it and upload the Skylar one separately and the other one separately as well. So I think that's what we're going to do. But definitely subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Hopefully, I'm going to give you some value, and hit the bell so that you get notifications every time we go live. Now, listen. Skylar, I've subscribed to his channel, and he did a video, title being, in fact, let me bring it up so you can actually see it, right? Let's bring it up so that you can actually see it. So the video is titled 4 Reasons, you can see it on the screen, 4 Reasons Why I Have No Interest in Going Back to Africa, right? Now, before we even get going, I just want to say, listen, each to their own. This is not about me. This is not a slag off session. This is by no means going to be a slag off session. You know, as far as I'm concerned, wherever black men living in the West, whether you're a black guy living, or, that comes from the States, a black guy that comes from Canada, a black guy that comes from South America, a black guy that comes from the Caribbean, a black guy that comes from anywhere in Europe, right? Wherever you find value for yourself as a black guy, as a black man, go. It's as simple as that. Even if you find some sort of value from living in your little part of the West, stay. All right. So this is not about me saying, so we're going to be slagging off Skylar. No, not at all. What we are going to be doing, though, is analyzing his point of view. That is what we will be doing. All right. And we're going to be doing that really to see whether or not any of his points are correct, and to see basically where he's wrong. It's as simple as that. And I want to make it clear again, everyone's entitled to their own point of view, and people make some valid points. Skylar makes some valid points. So that is what we're going to be looking at. All right. So guys, if you watch this on the replay, definitely subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. Before we get going on that, right, I just want to say, we've got this crazy woman in the UK called Kemi Badenoch, who's the new head of the Conservative Party, who, how can I put it? How do we describe that woman? You see, the funny thing is, right, some of her points, I've got to say, I agree with some of her points. I'm not going to labor it with this. Some of Kemi Badenoch's points, I agree with. Honestly, I really, really do. However, how can I be agreeing with any person who says that they do not believe? And you know what? Actually, I'm not even going to go there on that. I'm not even going to listen. If you've heard of Kemi Badenoch, if you've heard of her, go and check out her views for yourself. We're going to be having a conversation about Kemi Badenoch probably in about a couple of weeks. But listen, if you're going to be watching this, go type in Kemi Badenoch's name on YouTube and just have a good listen to what she's been saying, in my opinion, in order to secure the Conservative Party leadership. Go and have a look at what she's been saying. And we're going to come back here. We're going to have a proper conversation about this Nigerian woman, I think born in the UK, who lived in the States, also lived back home in Nigeria, but who really spent a lot of time, or grew up to some extent grew up in my part, southwest London, which is Wimbledon, going up that way, Wandsworth, going right up that way. So we're going to be having a conversation about her because I think she's worth discussing. She's an interesting character. interesting character. Some people think she's the next Margaret Thatcher. Personally, I don't think so. I don't think so. I'll tell you one reason why I don't think she is the next Maggie Thatcher. Simply because Margaret Thatcher didn't sell her own people up the river. Margaret Thatcher never done that. Margaret Thatcher stood up for her people in her country. That's what she did. And that's what Kemi will never do, basically. But anyway, I don't want to digress. But, people like Kemi, I'm going to be really honest. I have to say this. People like Kemi get position by basically selling out their own people. That's what people like Kemi. That's how people like that's how people like Kemi Badenoch get forward. Move on. They've got to be the worst kind of person to their own people in order to be trusted by the majority of people in the UK. That's just my personal opinion. It's as simple as that. But we're going to be doing a proper full-on live about her in the UK, only out of interest, because as that this channel is all about, honestly, about black men pretty much finding opportunities outside of the West, pretty much anywhere, really. That's pretty much what the channel's all about. Not trying to change minds of people living in the West, not trying to necessarily, if you want a traditional marriage, not trying to force people that really don't want to be traditional wives, right? But looking for that elsewhere, and you're allowed to. You are allowed to, as a man living in the West, you are totally allowed. You're allowed to look for something else elsewhere, right? And that's pretty much what the channel's about, right? In my case, I will be looking at other countries outside of the African continent, but at the moment and for the foreseeable future, I will specifically be looking at black men's opportunities on the African continent. So anyway, that said, you've seen the video there, right? You've seen the title. We're going to be analyzing what Skylar said about the African continent and his reasons for not choosing Africa as a destination for himself. And I want to say again, you are at liberty to really go where you feel most appreciated. So this is not a slag off session of Skylar, okay? But anyway, that said, let's get into this. I'm going to be playing it at 1.25, right, and stopping it from time to time, all right? All right.
What's going on, y'all?
And straight away, I don't know how old Skylar is, but I think Skylar he looks to me to be under 35. I might be wrong. He might be over that, but he looks like a young guy. So, but anyway.
I figured I'd make a video on this topic. All right. I get asked all the time.
I might speed it up.
When are you going to Africa?
Well, we'll see.
When are you going to Africa? When are you going to go back to the motherland? X, Y, and Z. What I see in this community is
the word community makes me laugh, right? The first person I heard say that was Obsidian Ali. I'm not, I listened to him the other day. I know he's gone over to Rumble. The guy's funny. So if you don't know his channel on Rumble, right, Mr. O Obsidian, right? Go to Rumble and check out Obsidian's channel. Hilarious, right? Had one of the best YouTube channels. And he got taken off YouTube, but he's on Rumble, so go and listen to him. He's hilarious and true, right? But do go and check out Obsidian, right? But anyway, he used to use the phrase community, right? And honestly, I'm sick and tired of talking about the community in the UK. So as far as I'm concerned, guys, there's life elsewhere, right? Rather than talk about women that got no interest in being wives, pack your bags, pack your toys, and the world's a big place. So, but anyway,
almost like pressure and trying to force black men specifically to go to Africa. So we're in this video. I'm going to talk about.
All right. So guys, apologies. I do this all the time, right? Where I put the mic far too flipping high, right? So that is totally on me. So you probably didn't hear any of that intro, right? So now I'm going to be forced to chop this video so you can actually flipping well hear me, Right. Now I'll put the mic where it should be, right? This is why sometimes you really need a technician, a studio guy to do the damn work for you, right? Because it's hard to run all this bloody equipment, right? And have the mic and have the soundboard and have this and have that and all the rest of it. And I normally get it bloody wrong. Honestly, but anyway, hopefully you can hear me now. But anyway, I just was saying, subscribe to the channel and hit the flipping bell. Hopefully, if you're going to get any value from this, if you're on now, if you're going to be watching it on the replay, definitely do that. And as I said before, and I'm going to cut it so that silly intro disappears. But listen. We are going to be reviewing this video from Skylar. Now, this is not going to be a roasting slag off session of Skylar, not at all. Every black guy, every man has a right to go where he feels most appreciated, where he feels he's getting value for money. You only live once. You only live once, and there's no point spending time in a country, right? Whether it's where you were born or any other country where you feel you're not getting some kind of value for your time and for your effort and for your money. No point doing it. So this is not about me saying to Skylar, you need to do this, you need to do that. Not at all, But anyway, in this video, he's going to be giving his point of view as to what's not good about the African continent and why he specifically favors Brazil over Africa, because he's going to be comparing the two, and why he would never take himself, why he feels no need to revisit the African continent. All right. So that is what this video is all about. We're going to be reviewing that, and then we're going to be looking at another video of a brother that is being interviewed by Austin Holloman, and why that brother is actually saying, you know what, I spent time in Asia, and now I'm here in Nairobi, and this is my initial experiences. Then we're going to be reviewing that as well as the second video. All right. So I want to make it clear, this is not a knock of Skylar, but I do think, I do believe it's worthwhile doing a full-on critique of this point of view, because to be honest with you, Skylar's point of view, I've not only heard it from people that have visited the African continent, I've also heard some of the same points of view from Africans living on the African continent. Right, so this isn't just views, some of what he says, right? And honestly, some points that Skylar mentioned, I could mention more dysfunctionality that I personally have witnessed in Ghana, and I love Ghana, and that I know for a fact exists in other African countries. And I've only been to 3 African countries. I've only been to Ghana in what people like to call sub-Saharan Africa, as if it's a different part of a different continent, but it's not. I don't even use the term sub-Saharan Africa. The only other 2 African countries I've been to has been Morocco, right? And that was Marrakesh for a few days. And then the only other one was Egypt. I've been to Egypt a few times, right? Yeah, so I'm still yet to travel around, the rest of Africa, right? But anyway, look, let's get to this, right? And hopefully we're gonna analyze his point of view, right? And we're gonna do that. We're gonna analyze his point of view, because I think he makes some valid points, but some of it, as far as I'm concerned, I think he's off, but we will come to it. So let's start this. Apologies for the intro, or for the long intro, and for the dodgy bit at the very beginning, which I will cut off. But anyway, here goes.
The 4 reasons why I have no interest in going back to Africa.
Fair use. Okay,
now let's keep this in mind. Africa is a huge continent.
That's right.
And this is just my opinion.
That's right.
All right. So if you want to argue and debate in the comment section, have fun. So I have been to Africa before. I spent
which parts?
A couple of months in Africa.
2 months.
And I never talk about this on my channel
2
because
months.
I was in the Air Force. I worked for a special operations wing. And
I have to say this, right? Now, this is the first time I've ever said this on my YouTube channel, right? But I've been thinking this for a long time. You see, various African countries allow foreign military bases, not just American military bases, but also French military bases and other European military bases. Thank God our young brother Touré, I'm pronouncing his name wrong, in Burkina Faso, decided to kick out, I think, the French, and other countries have already or are in the process of kicking out the French. All of those, that horrible word, Francophone countries. Honestly, for me, American military bases, sorry, my American subscribers, but American military bases, European military bases, and French military bases, they're jumping off points for covert operations and secret services operations. That's the truth. God knows what they're doing in African countries other than destabilization tactics. It's the truth. That is the truth. That's the truth. And they're allowed to stay by African corrupt leaders. So if it were not for corrupt leaders, right, of which Touré in Burkina Faso came in to root out, and he's only a young guy. I think he's only about 35, 36 in Burkina Faso, but God bless him, came in and kicked out the French. Don't need them. Don't need them. They are not an asset, have not been an asset to any part of Africa, let alone Burkina Faso. So I didn't even clock, because I've watched this before, I didn't even clock what Skylar said at the very beginning, that but if you didn't catch it, we'll play it again, that he's part of some secret operation service. Who wants that in their country? No one wants that. No, but I didn't even, because I've listened to this twice. That's the bit that I didn't catch. You don't want that in your country. Who wants a secret service operative running around in their country? God knows what Skylar's doing in Brazil. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, the guise of a passport, bro, that could be a cover. I don't. Let's play that little bit back again. Sorry.
Couple of months in Africa, and I never talk about this on my channel.
Yeah, because it's your Secret Service operative. You're not allowed to talk about it.
Because I was in the Air Force, I worked for special operations.
Special ops. My God. So how many American, foreign, European, French special ops are in whatever country posing as passport bros or whatever, or posing as businessmen or businesswomen or whatever it is? My Lord, man.
Wing.
So I had to point that out.
We deployed to Djibouti, right? So if you guys don't know where Djibouti is, it's in the Horn of Africa. Right, okay. We did infill, exfil.
For those that don't know, right, now this guy spent 2 months in Djibouti. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. So what I thought I'd do for those, because honestly, I knew it was in East Africa, but I didn't know exactly where Djibouti was. It's on screen now. Can you see that? It's on screen now. So that is where Djibouti is. All right. So this guy, I've been to Egypt 3 times. The first time I went to Egypt was in 1992. I went with my then girlfriend. We spent 1 week in Luxor, where else? Cairo, a few other places, just looking at all of the monuments and all the rest of it. The second time I went to Egypt was for my honeymoon, and that was in 2003. We spent a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks in Sharm el Sheikh with all the other tourists. Went and heard an Egyptian tourist tour guide honestly tell us that the pyramids and the Sphinx were built by aliens. That is what she honestly said, not just to me and my wife, but also to the entourage of tourists. And, yet sometimes you think you're not hearing something right. I had to ask her again, built by aliens? She said, yes, built by aliens. So that is what Egyptian tour guides are telling tourists. Bloody ridiculous. And then the third time we went was just a layover. Although me and the wife still got a chance to run around, we still saw the pyramids again and the Sphinx, and we went to Cairo Museum and all the rest of it. So I've been to Egypt a few times, Ghana a few times, and Marrakesh, and that's it. Africa is a huge place. But anyway, Djibouti is a little country, which is still bigger than the UK, I think. So I'm calling it a little country, but no, it's not as big as the UK. I'll take that back, right? I think it's as big as Ireland. No, not even as big. Well, actually, you don't know because this map might not be isn't the correct size anyway. So Djibouti might well be as big as the UK. But anyway, it's a tiny little country right off Ethiopia and Somalia and Eritrea. So it's a problem area. So he spent 2 months here. So if you spend 2 months in Djibouti, which is pretty much I'm guessing there's a lot of issues there, or were a lot of issues there. A country I think probably controlled by the US. How the hell can you make a value judgment about any country on the African continent when you simply spent 2 months probably on a military base, or just when you got sort of downtime, walking around Djibouti? And you're making a value judgment about West Africa, about Central Africa, about East, any other place in East Africa, unless he was on what he called covert missions, doing what do you call it? Special ops. Bloody Nora. I mean, you could do a whole live stream about destabilizing the African continent. Who needs these people on there? You don't need these people in your country, man. Sorry. I have to say that. You don't need them in your country. I don't care what anyone says. Seriously. Raymond Hales, good to see you, bro. Whole Cosmos, if I'm pronouncing it right, good to see you. But you don't need these people in your country. You don't. I don't care. You can slag me off. I don't care. Who needs special ops people running around their bloody country? Anyway, look, let's get back to it. That's just my personal opinion. Let's get back to the tape.
Operations there, and throughout the Middle East.
I would love to know what this guy was doing in Africa for 2 months doing special ops. I'd love honesty in that area.
So on and so forth. And in Djibouti, we were able to go off base and interact with the locals, and it's relatively safe. Okay.
As safe as any country can be when it's been destabilized by a powerful foreign entity. That's not the point of this stream, but I'm pointing it out anyway.
So I have been to Africa before. Now people will say, well, you didn't go to the real Africa. You didn't go to the sub-Saharan Africa.
Well, you didn't. You didn't. You went to a little country that's probably crippled under the weight of foreign American nonsense.
Like, I don't have time for the arguments and the debates.
Yeah, because there is no argument or there's no debate. You didn't. It's as simple as that. You didn't.
Okay. So I have been to Africa before. I do not have any interest in going back. It's not a high price.
Maybe because you can't, because all of the nonsense your covert special squad did, right, means you cannot go back. Sorry.
Priority for me and a lot of brothers. Okay. And look, we're going to go through the 4 reasons here, and we're going to just start off with the most controversial one. All right. We got to get the fire started early. We got to get cooking early. So number 1.
Yeah, but what you don't want to do is burn down someone else's country. Listen, right, I'm going to be really honest with you, right? If I was running, not me personally, but if I was, I've got to say, if I was a white American running America or England, right, or if I was Kemi Badenoch, because she may be the next British Prime Minister. If I was that coconut, I would send black people to Africa to do my bidding. That's what I would do. Why am I going to send white soldiers to Africa? When I could send black ones. When I could send, what's his face? What's that American, that black American, that pretend black American, Obama. I would send Obama to America to basically do my bidding. I would also send, what's that silly woman? You know, that fake Jamaican, Kamala Harris, Mamala. I'd send her to Africa to do my bidding. That's what I would do. I don't. Sorry, let's just move on with it.
The number one reason, one of the reasons, is the variety of women. All right. So listen to me, guys. I know.
Okay, tell us.
I'm sorry if the camera keeps moving around.
About the variety of women.
I know that Africa has some attractive women, and I'm going to show you one here. Okay. So we're looking at a baddie over here.
She's a little baddie.
In my opinion.
Okay, that's not
this
bad.
Is a certified.
Okay, well, yeah, okay. I do agree with that. It doesn't look like filters as well. It looks real. Women know how to use filters, but that looks real.
I dime piece. Okay, she lives in South Africa.
Well, okay, yeah, all right, okay, all right, okay.
Okay, her body is ridiculous. Okay, this is what we
listen. Okay, yeah, all right,
call an automatic skeet session. This is without any question. This is a automatic tossing salad. Like, we're going to get all into it. Okay, now
you need to respect women, Skylar. Don't be talking about young ladies in that fashion.
Come up to me and she's like, "Hey, Skylar, what is your pull-up? What is your pull-out game like?" I'm gonna be like, "It's non-existent. Okay, we're just gonna have some children in South Africa. That's how it's."
You got to be married first, Skylar, before you have babies.
Going down, but this is a certified baddie. Okay, now here's the issue, though. All of the YouTubers who go to Africa, I am not seeing anyone pull anyone near this level. None of them. Okay, and it could be for quite a few reasons. It could be that the women of her caliber, there's a low supply. There's not a lot of them.
Okay, look, let's address that point, right? Let's address that point. So, as far as I'm concerned, right, I've only been to, as I said, I've only been to a few African countries. In terms of the women that I personally saw just walking, I'm not on social media, forget that, because that doesn't mean anything. In terms of the women that I saw walking around Ghana, or the women that I saw walking around in Egypt, because we spent a bit of time there, really, honestly, as far as I'm concerned, right, it depends on what you like. If you like a certain type of shape, generally speaking, basically big backsides. If you like big backsides or tall, you know, which is Ghanaian, basically. A Ghanaian friend of mine described the Ghanaian shape as being round, right? If you like round women, when I say round, I don't mean fat, I just mean round bombs. If you like that, then you're going to find a lot of that in Ghana. It's as simple as that. If you like tall, slim women, then really that's East Africa, that's South Sudan. If you like lighter shade women, then that's North Africa. It's kind of that simple. Africa has got every type and shade of black woman that you can possibly think or dream about. That is what Africa, I mean, Skylar said it himself, Africa is that big, right? If whatever shape or hair texture that you want as a man, that is your ideal female, right? You're going to find it on the African continent. There's no type of black woman that you can dream of that is not on the African continent. So I take his point, and I agree with him when it comes to social media. Not that I watch a lot of travel channels and all the rest of it. I'm trying to watch more, but I kind of agree with him. You know, I think you know, I kind of think that wherever you are on planet Earth, I kind of think that the best looking women will put a premium on their looks. It's as simple as that, no matter where you are. And that could be on the African continent. If you want the best looking women, you basically got to, you know, they're looking for the best. They're looking for the best guys, maybe financially, or the best looking guys, or the best guys that can provide. Whatever the criteria is, that is what the best looking women are going to go for. But that's the same in every society. I don't think it's any different. Do you know what I mean? I don't think, I personally don't think that you're going to go to any country and automatically be able just to snap up the best looking women from that country. I just don't believe that's true. I'm not talking about paying for those women, right, in terms of giving money, but basically prostitution. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just getting into a relationship, like a proper long-term one-on-one relationship. I don't think you're just going to automatically just go somewhere and snap up the best women. I just kind of don't think it works like that. I mean, it might do in Brazil where he is, but I kind of I just doubt that's true personally, right? You know, I kind of think the best looking women really want the best men, and vice versa. You know, it's as simple as that. And, you know, I think people present images that are simply not true. And that's, I think he's going to go on to that. And that, anyway, let's just play the tape. But, you know, that's just my view.
Okay. If you juxtapose that to Brazil, for an example, or Colombia, for an example, bad bees are coming out of the woodwork, literally. Do you want to successfully?
He's going to go on to some advert there. Now, personally, I think, I kind of think that might be true. But I kind of think that might be true for a reason that he does not pick up. You see, I'm going to make a guess. This is just my guess because I've not looked at the GDP of South American countries compared to African countries. But I'm going to make a guess that South American countries, by and large, are richer than most African countries. Now, what that means for the people in Africa compared to probably some of the people, most of the people say in Brazil, where I think Skylar is that basically you got people that have got surplus more. You got more people probably in Brazil that have got more surplus cash, basically to use to look good. It's as simple as that, right? Because you know, a lot of African countries, a lot of women in African countries, a lot of you basically just haven't got the surplus cash to physically spend on clothes, spend on things like their hair, on makeup. They just haven't got it. So in terms of their physical appearance, in terms of makeup, all those kind of things, they might only just, the women may only just dress up to go to work, possibly if they have a job. Most women on the African continent just haven't got work because there isn't work, which is why they all want to leave and come to the UK. Right, that's another conversation. Or they may just dress up to go to church on a Sunday or Saturday, whenever their church is. So there's one thing though, I mean, you may mention it later on, but there's one thing Africa does have over Brazil. You know who the women are. You can read into that what you want. You know who the women are, right? You know who the women are. Right. This is it. But anyway, let's get back to this. Let's go.
Date women abroad. Keep in mind now, and this is what everybody's telling you. You compare literally. You description box for more info.
Right, it's after this. Come on.
Literally, you can't leave your house without seeing an abundance of beautiful women, and I fear. And this is what everybody's telling me, is that when you compare places like Africa, generally speaking, you're not going to see baddies like this, 10s, 20s, dozens out of the woodwork, automatically breaking your neck every time you leave the house. It's just.
That's true. That I think he's correct on that point for the reason that I just said earlier on, right? I believe that probably more South American countries are basically richer, and therefore the women have got surplus cash to be spending on their appearance. It's as simple as that. I think it is literally that simple. I think that's just it.
It's not happening. I will tell you, as a male, as a heterosexual male, I am inspired every day by beautiful women. Beautiful women is part of the reason why I came to Brazil, because it's something about the dopamine rush in your brain when you see beautiful women everywhere, when you see them working out, when you see them on the beach, when you see them shopping, when you go into your apartment and you go in the elevator and it's full of baddies that you've never seen before. They're just out of the woodwork. That does something to your psyche.
So, well, he said it. If you're a man, if you're a heterosexual man, then that's obvious, right? It's as simple as that, right? So no one's going to disagree. No heterosexual male is going to disagree with that. But yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, again, if you like a variety of black women, right? If that's your thing, and if you like dark-skinned black women, then obviously Africa's the place to be. Whether that's East Africa, South Sudan, whether that's West Africa, anywhere, Africa, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, anywhere. If you like brown, dark brown, black, right? If you like slim, high backside, just if you like all of that, if you like real hair, if you like real hair. Right. I know, to tell the truth, a lot of African women, for some reason, have got into this Western nonsense of wearing fake hair, right, which looks completely ridiculous. I don't know why they do it. They're following Western black women. They're watching Tyler Perry nonsense, right? So anyway, that's another conversation. Let's get back to the tape.
For me, this is me personally. Also, there's a lack of variety of a lack of variety in Africa. You're not going to get the same amount of variety as
you see. This is the problem. When you spend 2 months on a air base in Djibouti, which is on the very edge. Look where this guy was. Right, this guy just made that ridiculous comment. Right, now look where he was. Look where he was stationed. Right, this guy was stationed where? This guy was stationed on the edge of the African continent, pretty much almost in Arabia. Right? He probably spent time, destabilizing, I don't know, Eritrea, trying to destabilize Ethiopia, maybe mucking about in Somalia, just causing havoc around there. He didn't spend any time anywhere else. Africa is huge, and the variety of culture, of life, of people, and obviously of women is, you've really got to go to understand it, or at least live in a country. Living in the UK, living in London is actually quite interesting, because you got a massive variety of people that you see in London, right? Whether it's in central London or any part of London, really. Of the center of London, right? You got a variety of African people, you work, so to say that the variety isn't there basically just doesn't make sense. The guy just didn't travel in Africa. He didn't. He didn't travel. He did not travel on the African continent, because Africa has got the widest variety of black women. It's that simple. That's not an exaggeration. It's just a fact. Back to the tape.
Would and say South America, right? Here, just use Brazil for an example. In Brazil, they have literally everything. Certified baddies. White girls with blonde hair, redheads, brunettes. You got the full gambit of black women, to chocolates, to the lion's mane, light skin.
So that's personal preference. And as I said at the beginning of the stream, listen, if you're a black guy and you like non-black women, absolutely fine by me. You've got brothers that have gone to Asia. My nephew has recently just got a job in is it Malaysia? I'm sure it's Malaysia. I'm sure his mum told me that. My sister-in-law told me that he's a big man. How old is my nephew? I think he's about 27, 28 now. But anyway, he's just got a job to go and work in Malaysia from September. He's got a teaching job to go and work in Malaysia in September next year. So he's going to be enjoying himself. So anywhere he could have gone to Dubai, he could have gone anywhere, decided to go to Malaysia. So good for him. So anywhere where you want to go as a black guy, go and do it. I'm glad my nephew's gone out there because I can go visit him, right? Do you know what I mean? So if you like non-white, non-black women, which is obviously what Skylar's talking about, absolutely fine by me. Each black man, each to their own. Do you understand? If you fit in where you fit in, you got to get in where you fit in. So, there you go.
Ones to the racially ambiguous Stacey Dash ones. You got the Indo-Indians, right? The ones that look like they came straight from India. You have the indigenous looking Indians with the long hair. You got all these crazy mixtures, and I love it. I love the diversity.
Good for you.
It turns me on. It gets me excited.
Good for you.
Okay, so that is one of the reasons why
you're there.
When we talk about variety of women and scale ability, and that's one thing you guys have to understand about Africa versus Brazil or South America.
Basically, I think what he's basically saying is that there's less Indian women and there's less white women, which is cool. Absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Horses for courses. Yeah.
It's the scale. I'm not saying there's not attractive women in Africa. Generally speaking, there is, but it's not at the scale, and nobody can refute that claim. And people were like, well, Skylar, in Brazil and these other countries, you don't have these type of caliber women either. And I say, bull, because I can pay for it. But that's a black pill that a lot of people don't want to discuss.
We can discuss it here. So, okay. So again, let's do it like this, right? If a guy wants to pay for sex, right, that's fine. That is their business. Personally, I would never do it. Not because I'm tight or skint. I just don't want to. I tell you what I don't want to do. I don't want to be coming out of a woman's house, going down the stairs, and see another man coming up the stairs, going into the same house for sex. It's just not something I want to do. I don't want that. I don't want it. Now, Skylar might be okay with that, and there's other men that are going to be okay with that. It's just not for me. Does that make sense? Now, some idiot is going to basically say, yeah, but if you're married, isn't that, I'm married, if you're married, ain't that like paying for sex? It's just the same thing. It's the same thing. Yeah, you might be paying for it, honestly, in the sense that you're paying all the bills. It's your house. You're paying all the bills. You're buying everything as a guy, as a husband. That's what you're doing. You're looking after your family. So in that sense, yeah, you're paying for it. But guess what? If you've married the right woman, when you're going to work, another man's not coming in your house to look after to service your wife, right? So that's the difference. Do you understand? So don't get me wrong. If a man wants to basically, if you consider it, if it works for you, if you consider it to be convenient that you're going to be paying for it, Skylar called it black pill. If you want to be paying for it, fine. Again, horses for courses. If it's something you want to do, then you do you go and do it. But as far as I'm concerned, as I said to you before, right, it's not the same as paying for it in marriage. Because at the end of the day, if you married the right woman, when you go out of the house, no man's coming in your front door. You're not mixing your fluids with another bloke. If you've married the right woman, yeah. So I don't want to be paying for it, man. I don't want to be paying for. Yeah, I don't want to be doing that. It's not my thing. It's his thing, and that's cool. Just not my thing.
that most wealthy men with money, have a harem of women that they support. Like people.
I don't think most wealthy men do. I think most wealthy men have a wife. That's personally what I think, right? They may have side chicks, maybe, but they have a wife. I think most wealthy men have a wife. Elon Musk, I might be wrong. Somebody correct me, but isn't Elon Musk the richest man, apparently the richest guy on planet Earth? Isn't he married? Donald Trump, he's got money, hasn't he? He's not broke. Is he married? You know?
People always want to cover it up. Oh, no, you got to run game. We're not running any game. I don't have time to run game. I'm retired. Okay, now that is the variety in the lack of scale and excessive. Oh yeah, let me say this real quick before we move on.
Go on.
Accessibility is another key to this whole point.
What do we mean?
Accessibility.
What do we mean?
So this beautiful African chick that I just showed you.
Okay.
Can you pull up to Africa right now? Can you pull up to South Africa right now, land on a plane, and be with a baddie like that within less than 24 hours?
I doubt it. I doubt it for the reasons that I said before, right? Instagram and social media is not real life. It's as simple as that. In real life, the best women you have to work for. Not only work for, the best women basically want the best guys. Best guys being the richest guys, the guys that they consider to have the most prospects or to be doing the most or have the most. And I think that's the same. I might be wrong, but I just think it's the same in every country. And at the end of the day, I think countries, as I said before, if you just come on stream, as I said before, if you are in, I don't know, South America, so most South American countries, I might be wrong though, have got a higher gross domestic profit than most African countries, I think. All right. So basically, the women in South America have just got more money to spend to look good. But one advantage 100% that every African country has got is that you could be sure that the women are women. Tell me I'm wrong. You could be sure that the women are women. That's a bonus. If you're heterosexual, and if you're in Brazil, right? I mean, I do capoeira. I've been doing capoeira for many years. I've got my marimba sitting in the corner. So I love Brazil. I love Brazilian culture. I love the Yoruba culture in Brazil. I love Bahia. I've never been. I meant to go a couple of years ago with the group, but I never did. Right. But I've been playing capoeira for a long time. Right. Love it to death, right? So when I do go to Brazil, the first place I'm going to go is to Bahia. Right? That's the first place I'm going to go. All right. So this is not an anti-Brazil thing. It's really not, right? But in Africa, you could be sure that the women are real women. Now, can you say that about Brazil? Be honest. And this is not a knock on Brazil. I'm just saying, as Skylar said, if you're a heterosexual male, this is not a knock. I don't want anyone to go, KQ's having a dig. No, it's not about that. It's about preferences.
Less than 12 hours. The accessibility is key. Because there's a lot of these countries that we talk about have beautiful women, but the question is, are they accessible? Are they accessible to you? All right. So,
well, yeah,
that is my main point.
Yeah, they are accessible. I mean, basically, you just got to get a passport. They're accessible. Any country on earth is accessible to anyone as long as you're not a criminal and you've been bothered to go and get a passport. Any country is accessible.
Accessibility and variety of women. That is number one. Okay. Number two. And this is something that is not talked about enough, especially with these YouTube channels that romanticize Africa. Shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson, by the way. He keeps it real. about Africa.
I totally agree. Right? I watch Kinganda, if I'm pronouncing the name right. I watch a lot of O'Shea's video. He's funny, right? He's a funny guy, intelligent guy, funny, right? Was it weaving and sandling? Right, it's just funny. He's a funny guy, and Skyler's right. He keeps it real about the African continent, or at least about the part of Africa that he knows, which I think is in Uganda. So absolutely agree. And I do not agree with romanticizing the African continent at all. Right? You know, I don't. I've been doing a lot of videos about property and about moving to the African continent, but that doesn't mean that I romanticize it. Yeah.
That's why I watch the Kinganda channel. That's why I watch his channel.
Likewise.
Because I love his podcast too, by the way, because he shows the positives and negatives of Africa, but other channels don't. They just circle jerking over there, talking about how great Africa is without talking about the scams in Africa.
Tell us.
Africa, generally speaking, because we're talking about all the countries, runs rampant with scams. Now, let's be fair and balanced. A lot of countries have scams.
There you go.
A lot of countries are on some nefarious stuff.
There you go.
But it's on another level in Africa, and they are scamming people, and people are finally want to talk about it. So let's go into it. So let's talk about one of the...
Well, you know, first and foremost, I think in a lot of ways, Skyler is correct, right? There is not only scams, there's definitely scams on the African continent. I mean, we could talk about India and the call center. I mean, there's YouTube channels that you can watch about Indian fake call centers, right? Which run like legitimate businesses, but they're fake call centers. There's literally, I've seen YouTube channels about it. You can just go onto YouTube and go and have a look. Fake Indian call centers, but you have the same or similar, probably not as many call centers in various African countries. I'm not going to mention any names, right? And Skyler, to this extent, is correct. There's a lot of scamming going on, sadly, on the African continent, right? There's not just scamming. There's poor management of finances, of business, poor governance. All of these things are present and rife in a lot of African countries. But guess what? When you run special operations, when Europeans and America runs special operations, they are there to destabilize the African continent. So when you see, so scamming operates on one level, but scamming is there because of poor governance. That makes sense. Scamming, let's be honest, happens. Scamming doesn't just, people don't just scam, you know, but people scam because they can, because of poor regulations and the powers that be, you know, don't exist. Poor governance exists where good governance should exist to eradicate the scammers. In other words, scamming serves the interest of countries like France, who were recently kicked out of Burkina Faso. Scamming serves the interest of America, who I'm sure are not in Djibouti for the sake of the people. They're there for what they can get. America first. Let's be honest about it. And I'm not knocking Americans for saying America first. What I'm saying is that American troops are only on the African continent to destabilize the African continent, in my personal opinion. So scamming happens definitely on the African continent, but it's backed up by poor governance and foreign entities and foreign powers. That's the truth. That is the truth. Sometimes, right, and you know, when we look at a country like Burkina Faso, again, I like to use it as an example, and then Niger and Mali, countries like that, run by young leaders, forcibly had to kick out the foreigners so that they can basically begin to use their own raw resources to develop their own countries, and then deal with people who were previously backed up by foreign entities to scam. And look, I'm not making excuses for scammers. As far as I'm concerned, they should all be thrown in prison. When I was in Ghana, right, they were trying to do it to me. I mean, I love bartering. I come from a council estate in London, right? So I'm used to scammers, right? Even your friends tried to scam you where I was born and brought up. Even your friends tried to scam you. Just run stupid scams. And a lot of us who were born children of the kidnapped people that were born in, I don't know, in the Caribbean or in the Americas, those of us that came to live in the UK, yeah, we did. We grew up looking at Africa with rose-tinted glasses. When you go back to Africa for the first time, you may kiss the ground and all that sort of stuff. And that's fine. That is okay. It's a process of rediscovery and all that kind of stuff. It's understandable. And when you get scammed for the first time, you feel bad. I'll be really honest. Again, where I was born and brought up, everybody used to scam. And scamming was normal, actually. Right? It's just normal, you know. Go and watch Minder, a character called, if you're an American, go and watch an old program called Minder, a character called Arthur Daly, right? Honestly, there were loads of those characters where I grew up anyway, black and white ones, right? And you just get used to them. Scamming, where I grew up, was just a fact of life. You scam or you get scammed. So I don't know, whether you're black or white, I don't really care, right? You go to, anyway, that's just my point of view. But he's right, scamming does happen. But what I'm saying is, who underpins it and who backs it up? Let African rulers, let African people look after their own affairs, like Burkina Faso.
Most common scams in Africa: overpricing you for goods and services, charging you more than what they would charge the local population.
Of course, because you got money. What do you expect? What do you expect? You're coming to Africa and you're loaded. What the hell do you expect? That's low-level stuff, man. That is low-level. Listen, even when I went to, parts of Europe, they tried to charge me more because I'm coming from somewhere else, because I don't understand the money. That's just the way it goes. That's low-level stuff, man. Let's come in some higher-level stuff. That's low level.
Because you're an American, just because you're not from that country,
of course,
they're going to charge you more, even if you're black.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah,
hey, a lot of people go to the motherland. Oh, I'm going to the motherland. They feel they're going to get there and have a connection. And then they get scammed and get charged.
Learn the language. I am rubbish at languages. The way I get by is by putting on my ghetto mentality head, right? That is still in there, right? And I'm going out, right, to get one over on you, right? And we can play the game. We can play the game. If you win, then I'll take it, right? If I win, you take it. That's it. That's part of the game. They're going to scam you. You're a foreigner. You don't speak the language, or at least you've made no effort to learn Tree or to learn whatever language, whatever country you're in. Learn the language, learn the cultural practice, learn. If you're going to spend time in a place, learn so that you don't get scammed. Or at least you're making it harder. But that's the way it goes. Learn, man. There's a Stevie Wonder song, right? Ain't it just enough for the city? All right, go and listen to that old Stevie Wonder song, right? That's it. When in the story of the song, the character in the song goes to a big city and he's got to learn. He's got to learn how the city works. That's just the way it goes. When Malcolm X, Denzel Washington's character, when he played Malcolm X, he came from the sticks. In the UK, we call it the sticks. He was a country boy, came and got his hair conked in the big city, but he had to learn the ways of the city so he doesn't get scammed. It's the way it goes. That's just life, And when you've got poor governance or corrupt governments, like you've got on the African continent, backed up and supported by Western foreign powers, how the hell are you not going to get scamming? Because the bloody government is scamming the people, backed up by foreign entities and special ops operation groups from America. that go to countries to destabilize the country. Sorry, I'm getting political. I wish I didn't hear him say that. He should not have said that.
More for stuff, and it's just not. It's food. It's tours, safari tours, and what else do we have here? They do the fake charity scams, trying to use children as bartering chips and say, "Hey, you're going to help these kids." Blah 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 blah. Currency exchange scams. Right, a lot of Americans who don't go to Africa, they don't understand the currency completely, and they get scammed. All you have to do, if you don't believe anything that I say, all you got to do is search Ghana scams on YouTube. You can search Kenya scams. You can search South Africa scams. You can just search scams, Egypt scams.
On a very low level.
Scam central. Nigerian scams.
They happen.
We didn't even talk about Nigeria. Shout out to my Nigerian folks. I love y'all. Okay, but there's some scamming going on.
And you know, in the UK, you've got a lot of people from Nigeria living in the UK. I know lots of Nigerians living in the UK that would don't even want to visit Nigeria. You know, in the past, I've dated Nigerian women that didn't even want to go and visit. They were born in the UK, but they didn't even want to go and visit Nigeria. There's, you know, we've all seen YouTube videos of Nigerians who want, you know, Nigeria's got a lot of people there, 250 odd million people. So, you know, you've got to be careful about people making YouTube videos, because that's not necessarily going to be representative of the whole population. But over the years, I'm talking about over the last sort of 30 odd years, a lot of Nigerians have told me, living in the UK, that they don't want to even go and visit because of scamming and the attitude of people and all the rest of the attitude of their own families. What I would say personally is this: sometimes people don't recognize the asset that they've got in their own hands. But guess what? You might not represent the asset that your country is, but believe the Chinese know what you've got, right? The Russians know what you've got. The Europeans know what you've got. They see your country as a full-on asset, right? That's my only answer to that. But anyway, you know, this point I agree with, right? You know, on the scamming at a sort of low basic level, you know, but for the reasons that I've outlaid, that's why the scamming happens. That makes sense?
There. So scamming is just out of control. And every country has its issues, to be fair, right? You're not going to necessarily get scammed in Colombia, but they will drug you and try to kill you, right?
Right. You've got to weigh up. Do I want to be scammed? Right. You know, for if I go to, I don't know, any country, do I want to be scammed for, I don't know. Let's face it. When you convert Kenya shillings into pounds, or when you convert, you know, Ghana cedis into pounds or dollars or USD, how much are you really being scammed compared to being, what Skylar said, drugged and killed or kidnapped? Or if you're in Brazil, seeing this lovely person only to find out that she's not a female, right? So, you know, you know, drugged and I mean, I've seen some videos on YouTube about, God, what's that drug? I don't know, I think it begins with S, where you're literally drugged and they steal your whole life, you know, drain your bank account while you're laying there unconscious. I've seen that videos. To my knowledge, that's never happened on the African continent, to my knowledge. So take your pick, man. Again, you know, horses for courses, you take your pick.
At the times, all right? So at least here in Brazil, they'll try to steal your cell phone, right? You got people trying to steal your cell phone. They're trying to steal your purse. They're going to target the elderly.
People will steal your cell phone everywhere, you know, whether it's on the African continent or whether it's in, I'm assuming he just said South America, or in London. In London, people would, you know, young kids on scooters, on motorbikes would drive, you know, ride past you, just grab your phone and ride off. It happens in London all the time. That is nothing. Anyway, that happens everywhere.
In the week and stuff like that. So every country has its challenges.
Absolutely.
But as a person who has a bachelor's degree in finance, I'm very financial savvy, right? One of my biggest pet peeves and one of the things that just irks me the most is when people try to charge me more than what an item is.
Well, I mean, I wonder if this brother speaks Portuguese. I think in Brazil, do they speak Portuguese? I think they speak Portuguese. So I'm wondering, you see, if you speak the language, you're going to have people trying to con you, but at least it's going to be a little bit harder. If you don't speak the language, or if it's your first time somewhere, if you're just not streetwise, it's gonna happen. It's called learning curve.
That goes for box 2. By the way, I shouldn't have said that, but for anything, you guys know my biggest pet peeve is when, never mind, I can't talk about that because we're on YouTube. We just keep that, we're on YouTube. I can't say that. But yeah, basically, you can fill in the blanks. Basically, my biggest pet peeve is when people try to overcharge me for a good or services more than the local population.
It's the way it's going to go, though, because you're foreign. That's it.
The scams
that's
are
never
rampant
going to change. That is
Africa,
never going to change. Listen, even if you're a tourist in London, right? It's not scamming because obviously the prices are all, all advertised up front, so you don't have to pay it. But the truth is, in a way, you could argue it's still a scam because everything in central London is overpriced. Just getting a hot dog, a burger, not that I eat that crap, but if you want a hot dog or a burger outside of McDonald's, because McDonald's food is disgusting, right? But if you're going to want a burger or hot dog anywhere other than McDonald's, because McDonald's prices are the same all over the UK, but any one of those junky type foods, right, fast foods, whatever, or to get on a do anything in central London is overpriced. Guess why? Because they know there's a lot of foreigners in central London. So basically, you've got the money, you're not from here, you are going to pay through the nose. It's legal scamming, if such a thing exists. They've advertised the price, but you're going to pay it because you're in central London. In fact, in London, there's a tax I don't think I'm wrong about this, is that if you're a foreigner, you've got to pay an extra special tax for hotels. I'm sure that's the case. If you've got a foreign passport to stay in a hotel in central London, it's called legal scamming.
Which leads us into number 3, which is tribalism.
Yep.
Tribalism.
Yep.
Tribalism.
Yep.
O'Shea Duke Jackson and the people who go on his channel, they talk a lot about tribalism. They talk a lot about how you have well-to-do Black people who come to Africa with good intentions. And this, I'm not saying all of Africa, and I'm not saying it happens to everyone, but it's very common, okay? They get treated like outcasts, even though they have the same lineage, the same genetic makeup. But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, okay, I can only speak about my experience. I personally can only speak about my experience. You know, I can't really remember, outside of scamming foreigners, I don't remember seeing on YouTube very many, if any, cases about foreigners that have gone to Africa and been treated like crap. That's just, I've not seen a lot of those cases, if any. My personal experience is that, you know, when I went to Ghana, West Africa, me and the wife, we've been there 3 times. You know, we were treated brilliant by Ghanaians. We were treated with respect, but to be honest, we were treated with love. You know, that's our personal experience, right? The first time I've been to Egypt 3 times. Egypt, in southern Egypt near Luxor, those Egyptians are basically more Black When you go to Cairo, they're more, if you like, Arab, right? I felt that we were treated better down south than we were in Cairo. That's my personal, that's how it felt personally. In Marrakesh, how were we treated? We were treated all right. We treated okay. That's just my personal. That's just me personal. But tribalism is basically tribalism outside of foreign interference into and destabilizing African countries. Tribalism is one of the main things that holds back African countries. So on this point, Skylar is correct. Yeah, tribalism is one of the main things that holds back African countries. You used to have tribalism in Europe, right? You used to have rampant tribalism in Europe. The Scots versus the English versus the Welsh versus the Irish, all different tribes fighting for dominance. Tribalism on the African continent basically is awful, and it was made worse with these weird lines that were drawn through the African continent by the Europeans. Can you imagine? So he was in Djibouti, which isn't too far from Rwanda, which was completely destabilized by foreigners, by Europeans, by Italians who came and, God, what was it? Where these Europeans got together and drew lines through the African continent, basically, and just completely screwed the place up and really basically made tribalism even worse.
Because you are British Black or American Black and you want to go to Africa to conduct business, they're going to treat you like an outsider.
And that's okay.
Nobody.
Because you are an outsider. because basically you don't speak the language. It's not your culture. It's not my culture. I was born in the UK. What do I expect? But guess what? That's okay. That is okay. Just that is fine. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. Even if my family come from Jamaica. Even if I went to Jamaica, I'm still an outsider. In fact, forget that. Growing up in the UK, what did my Jamaican family call me? The ones that were born in Jamaica with a Jamaican accent living in the UK. What did they call me? English boy. Don't worry about it, man. Some people may feel hurt by all that, but you know what? I don't worry about it because, honestly, I don't focus on cultural practice. I focus on what I am. I focus on DNA. I don't really focus on cultural practice because culture changes and it shifts. I'm not saying it's not important. It is. But what's more important to me is DNA. That's what's more important to me personally. Culture's good, it's important, but DNA for me is more important. That's just personal to me, maybe.
Nobody talks about that. A lot of these guys on YouTube talk about how rampant racism is in South America, but they gloss over the tribalism that is in Africa.
Well, okay, let's weigh it up, right? And again, it's horses for courses. Whatever you choose, whatever what did Skylar say? I think he said pick your poison, which is what I totally agree with. Pick tribalism or pick racism. Now, for me, from my point of view, growing up in a racist country, which is what England is, which would I? Because you see what it is. When you grow up in a racist country, literally, racism, it causes poor mental ill health in Black people. That is a fact. Racism causes your children to be mentally ill, literally. So pick your poison. Do you want tribalism or do you want racism? It's up to you, because Brazil is a highly racist country against dark-skinned Black people. That's just the God's honest truth. That's just the truth. And it's always been like that. Now, people may not want to hear that, but it's true. So pick your poison. The darker you are, you know, I mean, Skyler might be fine because he's a light-skinned black brother, right? So Brazil for him might be fine, but if you're dark skinned, are you gonna get is it fine? I mean, let's just be honest about that. So pick your poison: tribalism or racism. Tribalism or racism. Personally, I'll pick tribalism. That's just me, but that's just me. Just my personal choice.
And how rampant it is. Even with other you have YouTube channels with other Africans complaining about the tribalism and how they unfairly they get treated in different countries. So you have racism slash colorism in South America, and you have tribalism issues in Africa.
That's
so
right.
My question is, pick your poison.
Exactly.
Because everywhere you go, it's going to have issues. Now let's talk about this.
But what I would have liked Skyler to do is elaborate more on the racism. He doesn't do it, does he? I'd like him to talk more about, because, you know, he's a light-skinned black brother. I'd like him to talk about his experience, right, of either experiencing racism, whether or not he has, I don't know, or what he's heard or seen. Because he talks a lot about watching Kinganda and you know, the fact that O'Shea doesn't gloss over the problems on the African continent or in Uganda, which is absolutely correct, and I totally agree. But surely he must have watched some YouTube channels that talk about the rampant colorism, racism that is in Brazil. And as I said, this is not about necessarily slagging off Brazil, because I mean, aspects of the culture, especially when it comes to Afro-Brazilian culture, I love, which is capoeira, right? That whole African influence in Brazil, I think it's interesting. And it's all over the African continent. I find that interesting, personally, and I relate to it. But the fact that Skyler didn't detail racism in Brazil, come on, man. Brazil is built on racism. You know, more than any other South American country, probably outside of Argentina, right? Brazil is built on racism. And that's just a plain fact, right?
This tribalism really quick. Black Americans traveling to Africa may face challenges such as seen as outsiders despite sharing shared ancestry. With assumptions of wealth, they're going to automatically assume you have money.
Of course.
So a little quick scam doesn't really mean anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, navigating tribal dynamics and political sensitivities can be difficult due to unfamiliarity with local customs and divisions. Okay, a lot of Black people, and I said this before, but I'm going to say it again. A lot of Black people, Black Americans may arrive with the expectations of immediate cultural connection and acceptance. So they're going to go to Africa and they're just going to get open with open arms. Oh, yeah.
And all of us, children of the kidnapped people that were born outside of the African continent to, I don't know, African American or South American parents or Black British parents or Black Caribbean parents, all of us go back to Africa, generally speaking, with that mindset. It's understandable. Don't beat yourself up or beat other people up for that. There's obvious reasons why we're going to have that mindset going back for the first time. It would be good to go back with a sense of reality, looking at the continent not through rose-tinted glasses, obviously, as kids in the UK like to say. But, you know, you're going to be slapped with the reality anyway, right? And some people don't go back because reality, they don't like it, and other people do. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, well, I'm going back to the motherland. Only to find the local populations view them as more as Americans than kin.
Absolutely.
Creating a sense of delusionment.
Because culturally, you are an American. Culturally, they would see me as a black Brit. regardless of how I see myself, they would see you as this. And it's understandable. Don't worry about it. Some things in life are just simply not. I think maybe the older you get is the less you worry about stuff that doesn't mean anything, right? Especially how people view you. How people view you is important on one level, but what's more important is how you view yourself, or at least the reality of the situation, But how people view you, come on, man, how people treat you is important. Right. So if they see you as a sucker, right, then you have to show them that you're not a sucker, basically. You know what I mean? That's if you're bothered to stay, no matter where you are. But the bottom line is racism or tribalism, simple as that.
And so, oh shit, I thought they're not even treating me like a local because I'm from the United States. I'm from the UK. This happens quite a bit, and a lot of people don't want to talk about it. Right? Do you think I'm going to fit in Africa? That's one thing I do like about Brazil, by the way, is I can blend in here. They don't know that I'm American. They just see me and it's like, okay, this is just another.
Yeah, because visually you're a light-skinned black person, and which is cool. Pick your poison.
Brazilian ninja. You know what I'm saying? He just walking around with his flip-flops on. He's not American. He ain't got a bag on him. He ain't a famous YouTuber. You know what I'm saying? I get recognized every day here, by the way, when I'm walking around on the beach. So I like that. Will I blend in Africa? Probably not in sub-Saharan Africa. Not at all, actually. Maybe in South Africa, I would. Maybe Morocco. I remember in Thailand, there was this Thai chick, and she was asking me if I was from Morocco. She's like, "Are you Moroccan?"
I understand the whole thing about blending in. Right, and he's not necessarily wrong. I have to say, and I just want to make a general point, maybe away from this conversation. To what extent do we not blend in America or in Europe? To what extent? To what extent do we not blend in? And just let that one marinate as we carry on.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe, but I won't blend in a place like Africa or like Nigeria or Ghana or Mozambique or any of those places, Kenya. But so, yeah.
But, again, if you learn to speak the language, then, that's you're halfway there. Maybe not in terms of color, skin color, but that's only half of it. It's about the language. It's about learning the language, which is the key to cultural practice. Yeah.
That was a long rant. But let's get into the last bit. Okay.
What's that?
Because I say this for last, but it's kind of a weaker point.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. But we're going to go into that, right?
Go for it.
So I am a foodie.
All right. Okay.
Okay. I am a foodie and I like gourmet dishes. Now you got to ask yourself a question. Name 3 world-renowned food dishes that come out of Africa.
Listen, right? Okay, so how do I even answer this one, right? There isn't 3 world-renowned dishes that I personally know about from any part of the African continent that I personally know about. There isn't, right? There's a few reasons for that. You see, I don't know how it is in America or any part of Europe. I really don't know. But in the UK, there's a lot of African restaurants now in 2024, or maybe it's because me and the wife, my wife's half Nigerian, half Ghanaian. Her dad's Ghanaian, her mum is Nigerian. She was born in the UK, but my wife is very, very, very traditional. Thank God. Amen. Right. But most of the people that I've seen in African restaurants that we've been to quite a few, Nigerian, Ghanaian, East African restaurants, Ethiopian restaurants, most of the people that I've seen eat in African restaurants have been African, yeah, specifically from the country of origin that the restaurant, comes from, right? It's only you got a part of central London. God, where was that? Dalston. You got a famous part of London called Dalston, which is basically central London. A lot of nightclubs, a lot of parties, a lot of bars, all that kind of thing. Loads of young people. We went to an brilliant Ethiopian restaurant, me and the wife, I think about, in the summertime, the short British summer, about 3 months ago, Ethiopian restaurant. 3/4 of the people in the restaurant were Caucasian, right? So sometimes in London, it depends where the restaurant is. Right. As far as I'm concerned, Caribbean restaurants in the UK have a longer history, as do Indian restaurants in the UK, and have had sort of longer to learn how to Europeanize, package Caribbean food. Right. Yeah, simple as that. I mean, the way that my granddad and his wife used to cook Jamaican food, I don't think English people would want to eat it. But the way you can get the same food packaged in 2024, right? I think it's been Europeanized, similar to Indian food. Apparently, the Indian curry that we know, I think it's called vindaloo, that we know in the UK today. Somebody told me that doesn't exist in India. It's completely been created for the British English palate, right? By chance in the UK. But Skylar makes a point, but there's another thing. When we talk about world-renowned dishes, by who? Right? So who does he see as the arbiter, as giving the benchmark standard of what's considered world-renowned? Yeah, are you with me? So yeah, I mean, who sets that standard? Who sets the standard?
You don't. You can't come up with one because, and also, it could now. I'm just saying what I'm trying to say is Africa as a continent is not known for its culinary arts. Not saying they don't have, and I'm not saying Black people can't cook, because they can. Jamaican food is fire. Okay, I remember the first time I had a beef patty, it literally just melted in my mouth. Okay,
got to be careful though, because I dated a doctor, Nigerian doctor, right? She's very health conscious, right? She used to call Jamaican patties heart attack food. She called, don't get me wrong, man, I love Jamaican patties. I don't eat them no more, right? But she used to call, this is, I don't know, 20-something years ago, she called Jamaican patties heart attack food. But she's right. She's not wrong, because a lot of Jamaicans have got diabetes and high blood pressure because of what we eat, the salt content, the sugar content, and it's just the truth. That is the truth. So she used to call Jamaican patties heart attack. It tastes lovely, but it will kill you if you eat too many.
Melted in my mouth, spicy too. A little beef patty. Okay, they don't have. Unfortunately, we don't have Jamaican restaurants here. But Africa is not known for its culinary arts. Okay, and I never heard anyone tell me ever that they were blown away by the food in Africa. Not to say that they can't cook. It's just that it's just generally okay. And that's okay. Like, I'm gonna be
generally okay. You got to listen. You got to, what he's correct about is I don't believe that African countries have, except for Ethiopian restaurants. I think Ethiopian restaurants, I think they're, for some reason, I don't really know why, are beginning to export out of all of the countries, maybe I'm wrong, but to my mind, of beginning and South African restaurants, you got a very famous South African or Zimbabwean restaurant in a place called Camden, right by Camden Lock, called Shaka Zulu. Have I got that right? I think I've got it right. Yeah, that's a well-known Southern African restaurant there. I mean, it's well known it's just well known. It's as simple as that. I'm not sure that it's owned by Black Africans. That's the only issue that I have with it. But Ethiopian restaurants seem to me to have, if you like, crossed over to Caucasian people more so than Ghanaian, Tongolese, or Eritrean restaurants. Yeah, I've been to a couple of them. That seems to be crossing over more so East African, more so than Central or West African for some reason. I'm not sure why. But there's a whole heap of Ghanaian restaurants in London. There's a whole heap of Nigerian restaurants in London, but mainly Ghanaians and Nigerians go to those restaurants. The West African food is maybe because the oil that I'll have to get my wife on to talk about it. You know, she's a nutritionist by trade. She can talk about all that, but you know, I know what he means. It can be an acquired taste. It's not necessarily easy on the palate, if you like. It's a specific taste to West African food, right? So probably more so than anywhere else. But I've got to say this as well. Listen, I've not heard anybody raving about Brazilian food either. And I've been to a Brazilian restaurant. In Victoria, there's a famous Brazilian restaurant in Victoria, and they kept bringing a lot of meat to the table. I found it fascinating. By the end of the day, I ate my belly was stuffed full of meat. Right, I couldn't eat meat again for a couple of weeks. There's a lot of meat. They kept bringing lots and lots of meat, different types of meat to the table. It was interesting, but I've never heard anybody raving about Brazilian food either, personally.
Honest with you too. I'm gonna be fair and balanced, and I could be wrong, right? You know what I'm saying? I could be wrong, but I'm not. It's the same thing with Brazil. Okay, and people are going to get mad at me, but I'll be honest with you. Brazilian food is okay. It ain't really super good. It ain't really super bad.
I'll be honest. I've not heard. I can't remember anyone. I've only been to a Brazil, and again, when we went to that Brazilian restaurant, I went with with my capoeira club. For those of you that just come on the stream, I've been doing capoeira since my son's 19 in December. He started doing capoeira first. We used to take him, and then the instructor said, "Why don't you do it?" So I started doing it. I'm not very flexible, but brilliant way to keep fit, and the culture, you know, playing the instruments and learning the songs in Portuguese. And I'm rubbish at learning languages, but there's a history through capoeira. But the point is, going to that restaurant with the capoeira crew, I think we went to that restaurant twice. A lot of meat. I can't remember eating anything else in that restaurant other than meat. But I've never heard anyone in all the year. I'm 56. I've never heard one other person tell me that they've been to a Brazilian restaurant. You know. So anyway,
I'm saying outside of the Brazilian barbecue, it goes downhill after that. Brazilians can barbecue like a mug.
Meat.
But outside of that, it's not that great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I will tell you this. My favorite foods ever, my top pick is Creole food, because I'm a Creole ninja.
Okay.
Creole food is the best in the world. And then after Creole, I would probably say Japanese food.
Okay. Yeah.
Thai food.
A lot of salt in that.
South Korean food. That's probably all of those four will probably be my top picks. And
personally, with the wife being a nutritionist, we are health conscious, right? So it's only recently that the wife said, well, let's start cooking with Himalayan sea salt, rock salt, whatever. There's another type of salt that we're going to start using with a lot of minerals in it. The point I'm making is, guys, if you're still cooking with table salt, stop. If you are still cooking with table salt stock, we're not going to talk a lot of healthy food right now, but I'm just about eating. Right now, actually not right now. For years, it's all been about healthy eating. Lots of fresh vegetables, purely organic food, if I can get it. Cut down the red meat. Don't do red meat. Cut down the chicken. I still do a lot of chicken, but cut it down. If I do chicken, it's organic. Lots of fish. That's fine. And lots of vegetables, lentils. Don't do any white rice. The only time I do white rice is when I go around my brother's house and his wife's cooking. They do white rice. They're Jamaican. I don't do. We don't cook with white rice. Right, we don't even cook with brown rice anymore, just lentils. And, you got to eat healthy, man. You get one body. A lot of black guys have high blood pressure and diabetes, right? So a lot of the food that Skylar just mentioned, it may taste good, but it will kill you, right? It will just kill you. So anyway,
I'm a foodie. I love exquisite dishes, okay? So, not saying Africa doesn't have any good food, but I don't think Africa has superior food. Now, one thing about Brazil is that we can make up for the lack of good food here because it has other things that I like. Okay. I can eat other things.
Like what?
So yes, those are my 4 reasons why I have no interest in going back to Africa. Now, things could change. I may want to, if I go, it's going to be for business. It's going to be for YouTube. It's going to be going on a safari in South Africa or Kenya, go and see the pyramids in Egypt, go and see the Moroccan women in Morocco, things like that.
Well, hopefully you don't work for the government anymore. So if Austin or some other brother invites you over, I think you should go. I think you should spend time in West Africa for a little bit, not just a week, and not working for the government, doing some special ops. I think you should go on your own. I think you should go and talk to Austin and check out, just connect with him and check out the vibe. I think, you should go to, just travel around the African continent. Don't just do Djibouti. Don't just do that. Go and have a proper look. When you're ready, whenever you are ready for YouTube. If that's the thing, go and make some content and compare the two places. Do an honest comparison. Do a real comparison. But anyway, look, let's see what else he's got to say. We're near the end of this. Let's see what else he's got to say in the last few seconds. Yeah.
But it's not on the forefront right now. But you guys tell me what you think. Am I wrong? Am I right? Am I wrong? Okay. You want some smoke?
Well, okay. I'm going to leave it there. I think the brother's right about some things, pretty much, especially about the tribalism. I think he's right about he used the term scamming. I would go one more. I'd say corruption, government level corruption, right? But some of it is underpinned by foreign destabilization tactics. We have to say that because it's true, right? So those are the bigger issues for me. Government level corruption and foreign destabilization tactics, and tribalism. Simple as that. That's the real issue for me. Above and beyond women that look good and all of that sort of stuff, right? But so a couple of things he did not speak to there. Okay, so what we're going to do now, but it's a good video. Go and subscribe to Skylar's channel, right? He's got some brilliant video there, great content. I do love the fact that he makes content on Brazil because, as I said, I do capoeira. I love capoeira. I've never been very flexible, and I don't do it because I'm good at doing all of the kicks and jumps that you see people doing capoeira. I do it to stay fit at 56. It's as simple as that, right? And I'm trying to develop my 6-pack again. When I was 20, up until about 35, I had a proper 8-pack. So I'm trying to get back my 8-pack. I'm trying to get it back. I'm just trying to get back my 8-pack one more time, right? Before I can't do it anymore. So I'm in the gym, doing, just concentrating on the core. I'm doing that. I am God. What else am I doing? I'm doing all kinds of stuff to try and get back this. Me and the wife are working a bit, trying to, that's free exercise. So we're trying to do that just to try and get back that 8-pack. I've got pictures of me with an 8-pack. Anyway, look, what I'm going to do, we're going to do this last video, then I'm going to call it a day, right? So this one is a brilliant video. Brilliant interview when Austin Holloman is interviewing this African-American brother who basically was in Thailand. I think he was in Thailand, and I think he's come to visit Nairobi. So really, it's only just an 18-minute video. We're going to put it on 125. So it's already on 125 actually. So he's just going to give his opinion of, or his initial opinion, thoughts about Nairobi. He's just flown in, right? So I think it's worth listening to, right? Yeah, so let's start this. Fair use. And again, if you haven't subscribed to Austin's channel, if you've never heard of him, Austin Holloman, go over there, give him a sub. Brilliant channel. What I love about his channel is that shows the life in Kenya. I think he's been to Uganda as well. I'm not sure what other African countries he's been to. I think he's been to Ghana as well, but he favors Kenya, Nairobi. I know that he's laying down some roots there. He's only a young guy. I think he's only about 24, 25, but definitely go and look at his channel if you don't already know it. Sub his channel, Austin Holloman.
Hey, Ronald. So thank you for being here today, and thank you for coming to Nairobi after watching my videos. Mr. Dan Sparks, shout out to him, told me that he met you in Bangkok. So you came straight from Thailand, Bangkok, Thailand. You went to Pattaya as well, and now you're in Nairobi, Kenya. Mm-hmm. So Nairobi or Bangkok? Which one is your favorite now?
That's the question.
For me, I'm choosing Nairobi. For sure.
Why?
Why do you say that?
I'm more comfortable in Nairobi.
Why?
Even just based off the weather. For me personally, like the weather combined with like air quality, like in Bangkok. And I've seen the videos on YouTube. I've seen it before I went to Bangkok. Everybody talked about the pollution. Everybody talked about the climate.
Wow.
But when I was in the Matrix, hearing that didn't bother me. I just needed to get out the Matrix. I didn't care about that.
I'm assuming the Matrix means America.
After being there for a while, I'm like, yeah, I need to go somewhere where the climate is more suitable for me. I love 75 degrees, partly cloudy, with clean air. So that's what we have here. That's one of the main reasons why. Wow. Not to mention,
I must say, I've never been to Kenya. I will do. But I've got to say, when I was in Ghana, the thing that struck me was the air quality, and just the greenery, the green. It's, the only other place I remember experiencing that was when I was in Cuba. I went to Cuba in the late 90s. And again, with the doctor who spoke about Jamaican patties as being heart attack food, right? But I just remember, we hired motorbikes, and so we went out into the countryside and all the rest of it. And I just remember just it being lush green, just very clear environment. And I just thought, bloody hell, I'd never experienced that before, never experienced that. But anyway. So I can relate to what this brother's saying.
To be in the area, to be in a place where everybody looks like you, it matters.
Yep. And that goes back to Skylar's point, right? Skylar said he can blend into certain places and spaces in Brazil. And it is interesting going to, I had a similar experience when I went to Ghana, just basically, and people in Ghana are darker than me. I thought I was dark. But going to Ghana, I just thought, rah, these people are black. They're blue black. It was interesting. I thought, rah. But, it was quite interesting blending in to a certain extent. Because living in the UK, trust me, you don't blend in. If you're on the subway, if you're on the tube train, if you're on the train, if you're on the bus, right? In London, it's not too bad. But as soon as you step out of London, you're not blending in. You're the only black in the village. It's the truth.
It matters.
It makes a huge difference.
It matters. It affects. It's like a mental health thing. Almost. It does matter.
I hope
considering that
just in case you didn't hear that, let me play that again. Listen carefully. Listen.
It's like a mental health thing.
Did you hear that? He said it's like a mental health thing. I've been saying a lot on my channel, right? There's a website called Mind, MIND. It's a mental health charity. Go and check it out. MIND, Mind, mental health charity, right? They say on their website, listen carefully, I'm paraphrasing. They say there's something about being black in the UK that drives black people crazy. Now, they don't use those words, I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what they say, right? And this brother just said exactly that. He said it's a mental health thing. Listen, if you want to experience good mental health, not all, but if you've got an issue in that area, if you feel stressed, go to a black country and relax. Trust me, your mental health, just knowing that you're not going to be arrested for being black, just people are not going to not want to sit next to you on the train, people are not going to just treat you odd, smile at you, just, sometimes smile at you or frown at you when they're not doing it to other people, just you. Just give you some weird smiles, like in that film Get Out. In that film Get Out, when his white girlfriend's parents have a party, remember that film? In that bit of the film, right, when he's got the guests at the party and they're just smiling at him. That's Daniel Kaluuya's character, right? That black Brit. When they're just smiling at his character for no reason, right? And he's like, he's doing that. Just imagine living your life in a country where they're continually treating you like that, just smiling at you for no, just like they smile, as if you're food, right? And this character just goes, it just drive you crazy. So just imagine going somewhere where you can just basically just breathe, man. That's what this brother's talking about. And trust me, in Brazil, I'm not sure that dark-skinned black people can breathe. Maybe you could do that in Bahia, right? The Afro-Brazilian quarter, if you like. But you can, in most African countries, you can just breathe, man. Honestly, wherever a black man can find that is what I want for you. Wherever you can find that, whether it's Kenya, whether it's Brazil, wherever on planet, maybe it's, I don't know, Malaysia, where my nephew's going, or some other part, Asia, anywhere where you as a black guy can simply breathe. What's that feminist black nonsense film from the 90s? Waiting to Exhale. Do you remember that bit of feminist black female foolishness, right? Waiting to exhale. If you could go somewhere to a country as a black man and breathe, exhale, just breathe, man. That's serious. If you could just go somewhere and just breathe. That's important. What this brother's saying is that he felt, as soon as he got off the plane in Nairobi, he could breathe.
Almost, like it does matter.
And considering that they look like us and there's not a lot of drama when you go out, it makes a huge difference whenever you are around people that look like you and there's no, I mean, you got haters everywhere, but there's not a whole bunch of excessive dry hating or just drama. I've always spoke about this when I left the United States. Like, road rage really isn't like a thing here compared back home. You honk the horn at somebody, you can fuck around and get shot.
Yeah.
Just behind something simple like that. People honk the horn here and get in full blown arguments, but it doesn't go anywhere physical. It's nothing serious about it.
No,
it's a lot more peaceful being here.
And the truth is, right, I don't know about I don't know about Nairobi, but Accra, the traffic jams we got stuck in, man, were horrendous.
It's just overall more comfortable. So I remember when I first met you, you were like, you wasn't really feeling the women like that, but I don't think that's the case anymore. So tell me what happened.
Interesting.
What were you thinking about the women when you got here at first?
The thing is, Kenyan women are so soft and kind and feminine.
Feminine.
The thing is,
not masculine.
From every other country I've been to, including the States, I can sense, like, if they're trying to play a game or if they're trying to run a play or do something slick, I can sense the switch up in the energy. Like, it's like an on and off switch, like the femininity is switches on, switches off. And I can sense the thing about here was that if somebody had a trick up their sleeve or wanted some money out of me or wanted something from me, I wasn't able to tell because they're soft and feminine all the time.
My friend, you have to get used to that.
So that was really the main thing when I first came here. But like I mentioned before, it's a learning curve here, just like it is in every other country.
That's right.
And after about 2.5 weeks of being here, I pretty much learned what I've needed to learn to know how to stay out of stay out of the face of the type of women that are looking to get something.
There you go.
From me. So.
Yeah, I would say that as well.
And that's an important point, man. Just the feminine nature of African women. I mean, you've got feminine women in all countries, mainly outside of the West, right? You know, again, experiencing that for the first time is crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't have married my wife. You know, if I hadn't have met my wife, right, I would be, I don't know, I definitely would not be in the UK now. I would have left the UK probably a couple of years ago, and more than likely I would be in some African country. If not Ghana, then maybe Nairobi. I'd probably visit a few if I hadn't have met my wife, you know. She's a feminine woman. I would probably be, you know, somewhere in Nairobi. If not Nairobi, I don't know, Zambia. I've got a friend in Zambia. He's living his best life. He's a big man. He's in his late 50s or around about 60. He works remotely in Zambia. I did a live on my channel probably about a year ago. I'm going to get him back on talking about property in Zambia. Meant to have done it a couple of weeks ago, but we couldn't get it together. But yeah, you know, that feminine thing that goes on with African women in Africa, not in London, because as soon as they come here, right, they switch up, right? You know, but anyway.
Now, what I do for people that want to come to Nairobi, they click the link in the description, they book a consultation, and I tell them about how important it is to have boots on the ground and have the right network. For example, when we went to Ibiza the other day, at first you wanted to go to some other club, and I was like, yeah, if you go there, it's going to be a bunch of prostitutes, and the ratio might be off. It's not what Ibiza is about to be at 11:30 tonight. And then you were like,
So one of the things you got to watch out for in not just Nairobi, but I think probably many African cities, probably even Asian cities, you know, probably I'm sure even in some or most Brazilian, South American cities and clubs and all the rest of it, is the fact that, sorry, but you are going to get ladies of the night in a lot of nightclubs, not necessarily in London, but definitely in other countries, because they know foreigners go to a lot of those clubs. So if you have friends that are there that know the lay of the land, link with them. If you can link with an expat community so that you know where to go, then that's what you need to do. So that's what Austin is basically saying, and he's right.
I see you on the fence. You're like, like Austin is still kind of empty. I'm like, no, we needed to get here early to get this table. By the time midnight rolled around, it was a whole nother, it was something way better, and you didn't have to worry about being around a bunch of girls that's working, you know, something that you don't really want to deal with. You know, and it was good vibes. People were socializing.
That's exactly how it happened. That's exactly how it turned out.
And it's like yeah, and it's affordable too. I mean, especially if you bring other people with you, it makes it affordable. So if you guys want to come to Nairobi and you want to make sure you have the right experience, you need to make sure you have somebody that has boots on the ground, that has a network in place, that knows the places to go to. I've had some people that try to go around me and try to not book the consultation. He's like, oh, I'm going to stay by the airport. I said, okay, go stay by the airport. I'll call you whenever you get here, because I know you're not going to like where you're staying. I wouldn't have told you to stay there. There's also a club nearby, Nairobi Street Kitchen, that we've been to a few times.
Contacts means everything.
I had another one of my clients that's out here now say, hey, he had an issue at that club that's across the street from there. I was like, oh yeah, I would have never told you to go there anyway.
What's the name?
Like, I don't. I think it was. I don't want to say it to put him on the spot, but
I think I know.
I'll tell you. But that place is a place I don't spend. I've already been to most of these places. I've been most of.
Again, it's just the whole thing about avoiding. Gotta say, just avoiding ladies of the night. That's what it is. Avoiding ladies of the night. Yeah.
Place that people that are coming from America want to go to enjoy themselves. So if you guys want to come to Nairobi, you like what you hear, you like what you see,
link up.
Click the link in the description of the first pinned comment and book a consultation. We'll get a plan set up for you today. You do not need to go around this, because I'll tell you everything you need.
This is important, right? If you're gonna go Nairobi and you've got a young man like Austin who's basically gonna be able to just tell you where to go and tell you where not to go, right? Then that's important. Basically, that's actually valuable. Contacts in life. Your black book of contacts means everything in life in general. In, you know, just navigating your way through business or life in general. Contact. You are your contacts, right? So if the young man Austin is offering free contact in a country, take it. It's important.
You know. Now let's talk about the cost of living in Nairobi.
Okay.
Compared to Thailand, I know Thailand is cheaper, but
You know what? That's one thing Skylar did not compare. Maybe because he spent no time in Africa at all, right? It's to compare the cost of living. Brazil compared to, I don't know, Brazil compared to Nairobi, Brazil compared to, I don't know, Togo or Ghana. Ghana's more expensive than Nairobi. I know that. So Accra is more expensive than Nairobi. I know that. But it'd be good to compare the cost of living Brazil to Nairobi. That would be interesting. That's one thing he didn't speak about. The cost of living is, if you're going to live in a country any length of time, then you're going to want to know the cost of living and the internet. I know Nairobi has got good Wi-Fi. I know that, better than Accra, right? But Wi-Fi maybe, and the general cost of living. How much does it cost to rent an apartment? On my channel, I've been looking at the cost of buying apartments in Nairobi and renting apartments as well. I'm going to do some more about the cost of renting. I think that's actually quite important, not just buying, but renting. So I'm going to be doing more on my channel about that. That's important. I know Austin is renting an apartment. He did say how much in one of his streams. Go and check it out. But I'd like to compare that cost to Brazil, to Rio, or wherever Skylar is. I don't know what city he is in, but I think it'd be useful to compare the two. You have to factor it in. You have to factor that in.
What could you get with $10 in Thailand, and what could you get with $10 in Nairobi?
Well, the first thing that came to mind when it comes to that is like Thailand, like $10. If you're eating street food, for example, all day, $10 will take you far.
Mm-hmm.
Like $10 would take you $10. If you eat only street food in Thailand, $10 will feed you for probably 2.5.
It might also kill you.
3 days, especially if you don't have a big appetite like that. Yeah, $10 could take you 2.5, maybe even 3 days if you only eat street food. $10 here, I haven't found as many options for street food. I haven't had any street food here, and I don't see as many of like the little carts with like the street food here. But they have instead of the little carts, they have like huts, like almost like little like pop-up shops, almost like where you
Kiosks.
Kiosks. They have kiosks where you can buy food, fruit, and what have you. I hadn't gotten anything there yet.
Just going to say this. We've got a chap in the chat called Dan. Dan writes, "Don't you have anything better to do?" Dan, listen, if you're not getting value from this, bro, why are you here? It's as simple as that. If you're not getting value from this, Dan, why are you here? It's a simple question. If you're not getting value from this, you don't have to be here, bro.
Yeah. But at least from the food standpoint, I would probably say Thailand might be cheaper, but it's not by much. Might be.
Okay, yeah, so it's still cheap here. It's just not as cheap as Thailand. But you feel that even though it's a little more expensive than Thailand, the trade-off is still worth it.
Absolutely, trade-off is still worth it.
So, go ahead.
Also because I don't like spicy food.
Yeah.
I have a bad case of acid reflux. So eating street food in Thailand all day, I might end up having to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Acid reflux. So here, the food tastes better and it's more my style.
Yeah, so compare the people in Thailand. Like, what was your experience dealing with people in Thailand versus Nairobi?
I think this is going to be a good question. I would love this comparison to have been about Brazil. I will look to see if there is any comparisons on the web where people are comparing life to Brazil with any African country. I think that would be interesting to know. And again, that doesn't mean it's still not horses for courses and personal preference. I will just look to see if I can find it. Basically,
night and day, I would say. Night and day. I would say here in Nairobi, I get, they call Thailand the land of smiles. But I get more smiles here.
Yeah.
I experience more smiles here.
There you go.
I thought when I went to Thailand, I would see, the endless smiles, the land of smiles, which they do, but in Nairobi, it feels more pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
It feels more pleasant. It actually feels more laid back.
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, I'm not a fast life kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is important because what he's basically saying is, I am going back to Skylar's video where it's just how you're treated when you go somewhere. What this brother's saying is he feels, having just gotten off the airplane, he feels that basically he's been, at some level, just been accepted, just treated nice, just treated, courteously, hospitably. He's just been treated decently. That's valuable. That is valuable. That's not he's not down in Thailand. He's just saying he's just been treated nicely. People smile and it feels genuine. I don't think you can buy that, man.
I don't like the busy, like New York. I don't really like the fast life, and that's kind of what like Bangkok has. Nairobi feels more relaxed. It doesn't feel as like move. It feels more slow down, take your time. Nothing's a rush. Smile, relax. I like that.
Yeah, that's pretty much the whole African continent, right? But rush hour in most cities is a nightmare,
And I would even say it's diverse too, because here in Kitisuru, this village market area, it's kind of a blend in between, fast paced and very slow, like Karen. Karen is a place I would go retire at, I think. It's way too slow for me right now to be there. Definitely for somebody twice my age, and even dudes twice my age, like Troy doesn't even live over there. But everybody has their own thing. If you want to be fast life, you can be in Westlands. If you want to be, in between kind of suburban lifestyle, you can be on this side of town, or even somewhere like I would even say Kilimani is a little too fast paced. Oh my God, man. Something just went up there.
All of those areas that Austin's mentioned is central Nairobi. Kilimani, Westlands, Kililishwa, although he didn't say that. If you like, that those to a great degree are the nice bits of Nairobi. Again, I've made videos on my channel about property, whereby we've looked at apartments. I think I've looked at houses as well, but mainly apartments, mainly studio flats, studio apartments in those areas. So definitely do go and check them out.
Escalator, but yeah. So at first you were kind of like on the fence about the women in Nairobi, but now you enjoying yourself. Would you recommend dating in Nairobi for
So the look on his face, I think that gives his answer.
Another Black American man?
Absolutely.
And again, this is in answer to what Skylar was saying, right? So this is a guy who spent a little bit of time in Nairobi. So he's just going to talk about his personal experiences. We're going to do a couple more minutes of this and then we're going to call it a day.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say for me personally, I haven't been to any other place on the planet where I feel it's more advantageous for a Black man to date, honestly. And I've been in Latin countries. I've been throughout Southeast Asia. I haven't been to Europe yet. I don't really have much interest in going to Europe. But
there's nothing in Europe, my friend.
Kind of like
there's nothing in Europe. As far as you see, it's not about Europe's got beautiful women. We're just talking about the attitude. That's really all I'm talking about. Just in the chat, Tem, I'm going to get your name wrong. Do apologize. Tembia na Bosaya. Now I know I've totally butchered your name. Please forgive me. Writes Kenya is a 100% gem. And look, thanks for writing comments in the chat. I know I've not been going over the chat. Do forgive me for that. But anyway, whole cosmos, you've written a whole load in the chat. People eat for survival. Just going back to what our conversation was about Skylar. People eat for survival, not extravagance. That is probably why. Absolutely. Whole Cosmos also right. Let me put these on screen really quick. Whole Cosmos writes, I'm mixed race. I only blend in California. That's all good, man. You get in where you can fit in. But listen, don't just because you're mixed race, bro, don't let that stop you from visiting the African continent. Seriously. Just because you're mixed race, that doesn't mean you've got mixed race people. I've dated mixed race African women. Born in Africa, mixed race. So don't let that stop you from visiting. Seriously. Just because you're mixed race, go and visit. Don't let that stop you. Listen, if Caucasians can go and visit the African continent, live in South Africa, live in Nairobi, live where they do live, right? Why? You can go and visit wherever you want, man. Wherever your passport can take you, go and visit. Don't let, just because you're mixed race, that doesn't mean you can't go and visit. Just go and visit. Yeah. Go and visit. Go and visit. Seriously, man, go and visit. Whole Cosmos writes, kick rocks, Dan. That's just some Jankro that wrote some foolishness in the chat. Ignore him. Okay, so Whole Cosmos writes, okay, I'll go. Yeah, man, go. Yeah, go and enjoy yourself, man. You only get one life, right? You have to enjoy. If you're a black guy, don't let anyone tell you that there's places on planet Earth where you can't go. Don't let anyone shame you, right? To say to you, oh, you can't go. No, we're going to shame you. No. Go and visit. Go anywhere. Go anywhere you want to go. Just go. You know, some people you should avoid telling your plans to. Bible says, do not cast your pearls before swine. That's what the Bible says. In other words, some people you shouldn't tell your plans. Don't tell them your plans at all. Yeah, don't tell them your plans. Okay, look, let's get back to the tape. Let's get back to the tape. Okay. So, okay, let's carry on with this.
I mean, it's just my opinion. It's just my experience. My experience, they kind of just melt in your arms. They kind of just fall in your arms. They just kind of melt.
Yeah, it just happens all naturally.
Yeah, I don't really have.
Did you hear that? They melt in your arms. Oh, wow.
I don't really have to do much. I don't have to put in that much effort.
If I wasn't married, man, wow.
The most effort that I have to put in is to send messages accordingly at the correct times of the day and be consistent with messaging.
This guy looks like he looks like a cat who's got the cream. That's what he looks like. He looks like a cat. I don't know what that thing is around his neck though. He's got to be careful that doesn't catch in the door or something like that. But this guy looks like he looks like a cat who's got the cream. Look at his face. It's like he's remembering what he did last night.
As long as you do that, I don't see how you can not be successful, especially as a black man here. And then also, there's another element here that exists in Nairobi, which is if you're a black American dude, put it this way, if you want to see what it's like to get treated like a celebrity and you look like me, you should come here because they treat you like you Kanye West or Jay-Z or somebody, and they don't even know who you are. But that element is here big time, and it's an advantageous thing.
I mean, the truth is as well, right? The fact that you are bringing your currency, whether it's pounds or USD, right, to Africa, to Kenya, right? That automatically puts you in another bracket. Let's just be honest about it, yeah? And that helps. That's just a plain fact.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It matters.
Yeah, and it's not it feels like you're wanted. It feels like you're really just pre-selected. It's not a fetish thing because if we're black, so I mean they ain't got no shortage of that here. So we're nothing new when it comes to that. Let's say just fetishing black Americans. But honestly, man, I think if you got your stuff together, you got your grooming together, you smell good. Because I've even seen Kenyan guys that fit the in shape, smell good, do just as good as I do. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not the difference. Of course, there's always women that specifically seek us out, but
right.
It seems like if you got it together and you deserve some, choosing signals or some looks, you're gonna get it here and you're gonna get some attention and things.
And that's the same anywhere, really. If you got your life together as a man, right, you're gonna basically, you're gonna have luck. You're gonna have more than luck in whatever country in the country where you were born and grown up. You're gonna do okay. It all depends on what type of relationship or relationships you want. Yeah, are you with me? It depends on what you want. The whole idea of this channel is to build a life elsewhere with people who value you, right? Where they're not necessarily, if you get married, where the women don't think divorce is an option, and where your children are going to more than likely grow up under your roof, right? That's important. That is important. Yeah, it's not just about chirps in check-in dating women. It's about finding a wife who's going to be with you until the day she's dead or until the day you're dead. Right? Whichever happens first.
Be normal.
I'll be honest with you. The most probably difficult thing you'll probably deal with here when it comes to dating is to not accept everybody that comes our way.
That is 100% fact.
To not accept, you can't just say okay. You can't just go. It's a completely different thing in the States, man. That's definitely the most difficult thing is to not accept all applications.
Yeah, yeah, they really dig you out here.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's unreal, actually.
Not
Let me ask you this too, just some more background on you. What made you start traveling?
What made me start traveling was when I was back in the Matrix in the States. I'm from Detroit, by the way. I've always known.
I have to say this, right? For the last couple of weeks, I will do the thumbnail, right? And I think I'll have to talk about it, right? I call it a vision. Now, do you remember there's been 3 Matrix movies. If you've not watched the Matrix films, go and watch them, right? But the third one, you've got the Smith character who basically puts his hand into your chest and basically you turn into a replica of Smith, right? And at one point, I think halfway through the movie, pretty much you see loads and loads of Smiths walking down the road. They all look the same, right? They all look the same. And then you've got Neo who's fighting the Smiths, right? He's fighting all the Smiths. I just had a vision of, I have to say, I'm just going to be honest. I just had a vision of all the women in I don't know, whatever country that is, all dressed like Smith, right? I don't know, man. But listen, to get out of the Matrix and to find a lifelong wife after you've done the playing. I don't know, when you're in your mid to late 30s or whatever, 40, 45, whatever, right? To find a wife who wants to stay married, not just get married, but stay in it, right? You got a better chance doing that, in my opinion, in another country, you just got a better chance. So there you go. Sad but true, in my opinion.
Not even in the back of my mind. I've always known in the front of my mind, this can't be it. This can't just be everything that this world has to offer. It can't be. And I've always thought that, and I've always felt that. And then what happened for me was, I'm in a trucking industry.
Let me play that back.
So I've been to every...
That was an important little line, I think he said. Let me just bring that back. Listen.
It has to offer. It can't be. And I've always...
One more time. Listen.
When I was back in the Matrix in the States, I'm from Detroit, by the way.
Here we go.
I've always known, not even in the back of my mind, I've always known in the front of my mind, this can't be it. This can't just be everything that this world has to offer. It can't be. And I've always...
There's got to be more to life than this. When he was back in America in the Matrix, he was sitting there in the office, just simply thinking, there has to be more to life than this. There's got to be more to life than this. My other computer's talking to me. There's got to be more to life than this. And if you're sitting in your little part of the West, right, and you're thinking, my God, man, what's that? A song, how did I get here? How did I get here? Can't remember the name of the group now. Talking Heads, right? There's got to be more to life than this, man. Watching the sun. I'm not going to sing it. Don't worry, I'm not going to sing it. But how did I get here? You might ask yourself, how did I get here? You got there by doing nothing and making no moves. There's an issue with the way you're, with the box that you're being pushed into, right? And the box is just getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and you're being squeezed, right? It could be at work, life in general, the racism you're experiencing, all of that push to get, and you're surviving, but there's got to be more to life than that, man. And there's more to life than existing like a gerbil, like a mouse. Great. Can you imagine this guy's a big guy. Can you imagine this great big black man fitting into a mouse cage? There's got to be, and let's be honest, right? Most of us, that is how we're existing. Me too. And financially, I'm doing all right. I'm doing fine. But just what he calls the Matrix, Nah, man, come on, man. And so this brother said there's got to be more to life than this. I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna go and find out. And all of the people that say, no, 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 you can't, you got to stay. Who are you to go and find a better life somewhere? Nah, come on, man. Don't let anyone tell you, gaslight you into believing that you can't go and find yourself a better life. Seriously. And there will be people, there will be family members, there will be friends, there will be your baby mama, there will be your work colleagues that will say to you, who are you to desire something better than your gerbil cage? Who are you? Who are you to desire something better? You little Sambo. All right. But anyway.
Always thought that and I've always felt that. And then what happened for me was I'm in the trucking industry. So I've been to every state in America multiple times.
Right.
And when my birthday was coming up in August 2022,
how old are you, bro?
I was trying to think of somewhere to go for my birthday. I couldn't think of anywhere that interested me. The only place I could think of was Miami, but I've been to Miami so many times and it's too expensive.
My oldest brother lives in Miami with his wife and kids. I'll be honest, I love Miami. Miami to me feels like the Caribbean.
And in my opinion, I don't really like the attitudes of the women there. So for the first time ever, it dawned on me like, oh, I have a passport and I've had it for like 3 years and never used it.
Yep.
Next thing I know.
Is it true that Americans in general don't have passports? Is that true? I've been told that Americans don't have passports. Generally speaking, don't know if it's true or not.
Fast forward about a month or two, I found myself in Colombia. So that's how it began for me. And I've been traveling ever since.
Wow. Yeah. I remember you said at one point too, you watch one of my videos where it says, whenever you get your stuff together, it seems like things get harder and it doesn't get better. But when you come to a place like this, if you do have your stuff together, it gets as good as you think it should get.
You get what you should get.
Yeah.
That's
you get the work you put in.
You get the work that you put in. That's one thing.
That drink, that smoothie, see that smoothie there? That looks nice, isn't it? That green smoothie. Sorry.
I've learned from traveling is that when you travel outside of America, the world really shows you what you are. If you're lame, the world gonna show you that you are actually lame. Whereas in America, in my opinion, it's like clown world. Everything is upside down. Crazy. But if you're actually a man that's on your,
I think Donald Trump is trying to turn everything the correct way up. But anyway, again, it's another conversation.
That's on your purpose. You're doing your thing. You got your stuff together. Once you get out of America, the world is going to show you what you always thought about yourself. It's going to show you like, oh, so I wasn't tripping.
Yeah.
And going back to that video that you spoke on, you were the first and only guy, even still to this day, that I have actually heard say, when you get your money right, you get your body right, you get everything put together, and you think, oh, I'm about to have everything. Like everything about to be smooth. That's what I heard my whole life. Get my money right, my car, my crib, get my style together, get GQ'd up, and I'm good. Didn't happen for me. When I told other guys about that, they'll be like, well, that don't make sense. What you mean? Like, no, maybe it's something that you're doing. Maybe
they love the gaslight.
They love it. No, maybe it's something that you're doing. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that.
Yep.
And I'm like, dude, I know I can't be the only one that's experiencing this. And when I seen you say that on YouTube, I was like, I knew I wasn't crazy. I knew I wasn't crazy, and I knew I was the only one.
Absolutely.
So ever since I left the States, I have not had that issue again.
There you go.
Matter of fact,
wow,
I've heard some sentences from women for the first time ever in my life when I left the States. Even something simple as, wow, you're really hard working. Like you work really hard.
Wow.
Like, wow. Like, you really are a gentleman. You really are this.
Wow. Placing value on you. That's what that one's all about. Placing value on you. Who you are, just who you are. Just placing some basic value on you. It's rare in the West. It's the truth. Rare.
I'll never hear that in the States. In the States, they don't want to tell you anything. They don't want to give you the big head. They don't want to blow you.
They don't want anything that's to make you feel good or boost your ego is like a sin for them.
Yes.
It's so crazy.
Yes.
And the truth is, guys, listen, if you are going to marry or take any woman seriously, she's got, sorry, but most men have got egos, right? And I'm going to be really honest. My wife strokes my ego every single day. She literally just tells me how great I am. What do you think she gets for that? What she gets basically is me working hard for her. It's as simple as that. And that's okay. That's okay. I think that's part of femininity. And basically, God, who said it? Was it Skylar? Was it? I think it was Skylar, wasn't it? He said that, or was it Kevin Samuels? I can't remember anyway. Someone said that, you want the woman you want for your wife. It's got to be inspirational, man. She's got to be inspirational, And what comes out of her mouth has to be inspirational for her to be in your space and take up space around you. She's got to be inspirational. I think the way I'm reading what this brother's saying is that there's more of that type of woman in Nairobi, more so than in his part of the US or. When you
leave the country, and as long as you just be what you are, the women will actually take notice and be like, wow, like you really, well, how are you single? Like they really do that. So, hey, getting my passport was the best investment in myself I've ever made.
Wow.
Yeah, even whenever.
Did you hear that? Getting my passport is the best is the best investment that he's ever made in himself. I'm adding some other words onto that because that's how I'm reading what he just said. Yeah, it's an investment in he made an investment in his own future.
Whenever I started going to the gym in other countries, and chicks I would talk to be like, wow, you look really good. And I'd be like, man, do you know when I was in the States, either they wouldn't say that. It's not that I'm asking them to. I just noticed either they wouldn't say that or they would say something to nitpick to try to break you down a little bit. Oh, I can never do it again. I can never do it again.
I told one of my best friends lives in Ethiopia, and I would tell her stories.
I've noticed that in the West. Well, I live in the UK. A lot of black women simply don't. I don't know what it is. Don't know how to give compliments. They just either don't want to, don't know how to. Think it takes something away from them. It's actually sad. It's actually quite sad because it costs nothing. It literally costs absolutely nothing to give a compliment, to be nice to people, simply to smile, as Kevin Samuels used to say, just to smile and be nice.
Stories like that. And
what did Sly Stone say? Sly Stone said, "You're in trouble when you find it's hard for you to smile." That's Sly Stone, who's still alive, just about.
And I would tell her in America, the women there, they would see that you're handsome, see that you dress well and everything, but still, they would look for a reason to knock you down.
Yeah,
they would look for whether it's your shoes, your nails, your hair and your beard ain't right. Let me fix that for you. It's always something to try to throw you off and make you feel insecure about yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. Did you hear that? Just talk about foolishness. Just pick out one, pick out a speck just to make you feel insecure. Why? And what the brother's saying is actually a common story for a lot of black guys living in a Western country. The story's not much different in whatever Western country you come from. It really isn't.
It doesn't happen outside the States, man. It just doesn't.
And that's why it's been 2 years.
It happens right here.
Back. Yeah. Well, I went back and I damn near lost my mind, but man. So I won't be going back for another 10. Mm-hmm. So anyway, to wrap up the video, people that are in Thailand,
right,
they're interested in Nairobi, what are some final things you have to say to them?
Yeah, go on.
I would say for folks who are currently in Thailand, I mean, it depends on what you're looking for, man. It depends on what in my opinion, if you are a young guy who's never experienced marriage and raising children, if that's who you are, and you know that you're intentional about that as that being a part of your future, I would say you're wasting your time in Thailand. Mm-hmm. I would say you're wasting your time. Like if you're a guy who knows you want that for your future, I don't even understand why you're in Thailand.
Wow.
So that's the kind of guy that you are, that you know that.
Or in America, or in the UK, or in any European country, for that matter, right? What he said there was big. Doesn't only apply to Thailand. In fact, you're probably better off looking for a wife in Thailand than most of Europe or America, in my opinion. All right? Yeah?
That's something that you want for your future. Why are you still there? You should have been left. Because My bad, Thailand, but hey, that's just my opinion.
So if you guys are in Thailand, you have not been in Nairobi, give it a shot. You never know, you might like it. I love it. I've been to Thailand and came right back to Nairobi, and I felt like I landed back in heaven.
And that's important as well, because Austin Holloman, he's done a lot of traveling. He can compare the two. He's interviewing this brother, but he's in a position to actually compare the two because he's been to both places.
So, Ronald, thank you for the interview again today.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to drop that down. We're done with that. I thought that was useful, guys. Hopefully you got some sort of value. I thought that was really, 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 really useful. So listen, subscribe to Skylar's channel. Definitely subscribe to Austin Holloman's channel. Loads of great content on both. I enjoy the content. Hopefully you got some sort of value from this. Subscribe to my channel if you're here for the first time. Whole Cosmos. I don't remember you being there before, bro, but you're more than welcome back. Let's quickly read. He's put a lot of comments in the chat. So let's quickly have a look. I'm going to bring these up and just read through from. Let's just go from here. I'll just read through the whole lot of them. All right. So they want money. I don't know I can't remember what that's in reference to. Yeah, pretty much. Don't know. Let's come down there. It's the right. Okay. I think this comment. It's the media and social media brainwashing. I think that's in reference to modern, independent, feminist-minded females. I think of the type that this brother was talking about. What's his comment? Whole Cosmos. Many women only hate and tear down men. In the US, they call us toxic masculinity. Listen, if you're going to be tearing down anyone, man or woman, you are toxic, man or woman. I mean, obviously, for some reason, I don't know, modern women think it's a good idea to be tearing down men. Just watch those, that Pop the Balloon show with Sister Arlette. Go and watch that. And you basically, women on that podcast enjoy tearing down men. On all of those Pop the Balloon shows, the women on those podcasts, they enjoy tearing down men, right? And then the guys, when the guy rejects a woman, the guy basically, the first thing the guy says is, "You're beautiful, but..." So he's always got to basically put a caveat on it as to why he basically just didn't like her. But the women on all of those Pop the Balloon shows, they all enjoyed tearing down men. Honestly, I don't even know why the men go on those shows. I've got no idea. But anyway, Whole Cosmos writes here, many women only hate and tear down men. In the US, they call us toxic men. But it's the women that are toxic. Just in terms of what comes out of the mouth is called potty mouth, right? And when you look at these US rappers like Glorilla and all of these, and what's the name? Sexy Red, just all these stupid names. And then the women are following those women. The young women are actually trying to dress and emulate those horrible, dodgy, ugly, weave-wearing. What does Tom Sotomayor call women who wear hair hats and the fake nails and the weird snuffleupagus eyelashes and the they might have a fat belly. They wear these waist trainers, and you've got to pick from that. No wonder this American brother's run off to, what did he say? He's run off to Nairobi. Seriously, man. And then they call black men in general, toxic. I wonder what Donald Trump's going to have to say about all that right now. And Elon Musk. Anyway, right, so what's this? This is from Whole Cosmos. It's actually toxic feminine. Exactly, toxic. Listen, toxic femininity is called misandry, right? And why would you put up with misandry, right, when you could run off to Nairobi and get a fit, feminine, friendly woman who basically is just nice and smiles? I mean, as Skylar said, listen, Nairobi, Africa, no African country, in the Ghana, none of these countries are perfect. There's corruption, you go there, and because you don't speak the language, the lingo, they may try and rob you, they might try, you may say to the cabbie, how much is this? He checks your accent that you're a British black guy or you're an American guy, and straight away the price is doubled, all of it is absolutely true. Skylar's correct. He's correct. But guess what? The women in Africa, generally speaking, are more feminine than the women in where I am. It's just the truth. It's just the God's honest truth. Listen, and as I said before, horses for courses. If you enjoy your little part of the West, stay there. If you're in America and you enjoy it there, stay there. Stay where you are. Stay where you are. Enjoy it. If you're in Brazil and you love it, stay there. I mean, personally, as I said, I do capoeira. I will visit definitely Salvador. Bahia. I will definitely visit there because I love the, from what I've seen of it, I love the culture. Looks brilliant. I can definitely relate to that. Do I really want to go Rio? No, not really. I don't. So there's parts of Brazil that I would definitely want to go and visit, and there's parts that, on the surface of it, don't look as if it holds very much for me. Skylar spoke about the food in Brazil, and he was honest. The food in Brazil, the food in his opinion, in most of the African continent, really it doesn't export very well. I agree with that. It's an acquired taste. That's what it is. So the end, my verdict at the end of the day is horses for courses. Wherever you find value as a man, as a male, as a black guy, wherever you can get a smile, an honest to God smile, wherever you can get treated as a human being first, wherever you can get treated as a human, not as a black human, but as a human being. There's that phrase, go where you are appreciated, not where you're tolerated. Absolutely. Go and do that. This brother here, right, he spent time in Thailand. He's gone to Nairobi. This brother's basically saying that he can breathe. He can just breathe. He can just be himself, just be a man. That is important, and it's completely and utterly priceless. And guess what, guys? It's good for your mental health. Living in a country that the countries like where most of us in the West have grown up in, let's be honest, right? A lot of the guys that we know have experienced mental ill health, either mental ill health or maybe even, if you're watching this, you've experienced mental ill health or just poor health. Diabetes, high blood pressure, just things that, and it's far too many of us, right? So you know what? We need to not be gaslit or shamed or feel like we can't get our passports and simply travel somewhere where we can just live like human beings. It's not going to be perfect. Right, Nairobi, I'm sure, is not perfect. I mean, me and the wife were in Ghana, and we totally loved it. But in some parts of Ghana, you've got open sewers, right? And the sewers are blocked, and you've got to be careful, right, that you don't fall down in there. Similar to Jamaica. But honestly, I'm going to be really honest. We both felt at home. That's the God's honest truth. And honestly, that is what I want for all you black guys that are going to be watching this stream, just like this guy, to position yourself somewhere on planet Earth where you feel at home, where you feel not tolerated, but appreciated by people that you meet. Yeah, you're going to get scammed. Absolutely. Because you're foreign. You don't speak the language. You don't speak it. Learn to speak the language. Wherever you're going to look to settle down, you need to learn to speak the language. And that's coming from someone who considers himself crap at learning languages. You have to learn the language. You have to learn the language. And even then, people are still going to try and rip you off and scam you, because the bottom line is you're more than likely going to be richer than most of the people you're going to meet in, whether it's in Kenya or Ghana or Togo or Zambia or Botswana or South Africa or most of the African countries that you're going to possibly travel to. But that's okay. I won't worry. I won't let that. Don't let that rob you of a life. Do you understand? And don't let that rob you of a life. And part of that is possibly to go and find a decent woman who wants to stay married. That's the guys that are looking for that, right? And the other little thing as well, I'm going to say before I say sayonara, don't go to Africa and leave your brain, right, in England, leave your brain in America, right? And what I mean by that is, basically you're gonna have to when we leave the West, we got to really reorientate our brains, right? And that's important. You know, the mindset of how we treat people, how we treat women, how we view ourselves, right? And also another thing that not a lot of people touch on, right? To some extent, I think O'Shea Duke Jackson touched on it, right? Honestly, my personal thing is this, right? If you're going to travel, whatever country you travel to, including the African continent, you're going to have to be self-employed pretty much. You're not going to go to Africa and get a job because there are none, pretty much, right? But the other little thing is, what kind of value are you going to add to where you're going to? What kind of value? Or are you just going to be some kind of leech? Right? But anyway, we could talk about that another time. But guys, listen, if it's your first time here, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell. I've been on for now 2 hours, 35 minutes. I'm going to go and get some sleep. It is late in the UK, but thanks for putting up with my dodgy UK accent. And guys, I will catch you on the next one. Definitely sub the channel, right, and hit the bell. I'm out. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Peace.